Welcome to Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast, episode 014. This is Stephen Little, and I'm here with
Isaac Tauaefa,
Josh Straussberger, JP Dinnell.
Good evening, men.
What up?
Good evening.
What's up?
Welcome, listeners and viewers.
Let's go.
Hey, I like it.
So I want to. You just said listeners and viewers, which is awesome.
Smart move.
So the viewer side, the people that are listening to us on YouTube is awesome. You know, that obviously helps out the ministry for the awareness. The more time that people are watching these podcast episodes, actually, I didn't realize like that we were doing well with the amount of time that people are viewing, but it really helps the YouTube page get recognized and eventually get to the point where if that YouTube page can be monetized, all that goes back into the ministry. So if you're watching it on YouTube, or even if you're not, if you can watch it on YouTube occasionally and download those episodes, like, share, comment, that's huge. Like it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but people are always asking like, hey, what can we do to help you? Hey, I love these episodes. You know, I really got a lot out of this. What can I do to support? And I know, Isaac, you're about to talk about the support side, like Jocko and Echo say. But just it's funny. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but commenting, like subscribing, that's a big one. Sharing the stuff, putting it out there, tagging us on Instagram, putting us in your stories, or even like, I know this is like difficult for some people to do, but if you were to take a screenshot of the YouTube episode and then actually make a post about it, like what did you take away from that episode, what was the verse, and actually put it into your social media page to create a post and tag us so that we can interact and other people can. Those things is what's going to really help grow the episode. Grow the podcast, which grows the ministry. The Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu events brings awareness about pursuit for the men and women, and so I just wanted to, I know we just started this episode, but I wanted to talk about that because I have failed to talk about it in the previous 13 episodes. So there we go.
Well, thank you. The stakes are a little higher now. I mean, we have some traction and we have more people that are watching. We thank you all.
Yeah.
It matters a lot now. So thanks for saying that. And so I just wanted also to add, there are people that are always reaching out to all of us individually, and asking for ways that they can support and help the podcast, help the ministry. And so what we're going to roll out, in different avenues, whether it be for churches or at the live events or just on an individual level. Something that we think would really benefit the ministry is if you guys, if you feel led to contribute to the ministry in some reoccurring way, whether it's $5 a month or $25 a month or whatever you feel led. If you pray about it and you feel led to give something, we would encourage you to be obedient to that calling. And we know, like, it doesn't matter. Don't think that there's some amount that is too small. God will multiply and use your 5 loaves of bread and your 2 fish to bless many, many, many people. So it would be a huge help to the ministry. And what we aim to do with those funds is we have plans to expand, to go all over the country, to stand up markets and help those people be able to run their own Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu events. For us to be able to roll out a comprehensive discipleship program that's ongoing that we can continue to do, to be able to give Bibles and to everybody that needs one at all of our live events,
which we actively do.
Yes, yeah. But we could do it on a bigger scale if we had the funds to do it. We're doing everything we can right now with what we have, but if we had more, we would do more. And so we just thank you so much for prayerfully considering giving to the ministry. And just know that whatever you decide to do is gonna go a really, really long way.
Yeah, and everything that we've gotten already has been amazing.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, we're
big time
constantly blown away in our group text. Like Isaac will be like, "Hey, I just got somebody else that's going to do this," and Josh has somebody that we'll talk about that was like, "Hey, I want to do this regularly," and we're like, "What? This is incredible!" It's just awesome. The heart of people that are out there that are listening, and it's just really cool. You know, I was on a phone call earlier today with a very large company, and their evaluation is $1.6 billion. and they're talking about companies making the mistakes of investing into bigger names that they think is going to have a return on their investment. And he goes, what we found is it's not those people. It's not the big popular people. It's the people that have good intentions. And that's what I think is really cool about this podcast. Like we talked about this last episode, like none of us are perfect. None of us will be perfect. None of us claim to be perfect or have everything dialed in and disciplined and good to go with their lives. But you know what? I know the intentions of all four of our hearts, and I know the intentions of this ministry, and it's to grow the kingdom.
Yeah.
However we can, and we all have different skill sets, which is really cool. And that's why I think is awesome that we bring it together. But the intentions, and I think people understand the intentions of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and they want to help. Because right now, Christians know more than ever we are at war. Like there is a legit attack on Christians, and somebody's sitting there, and it's some single mom who's barely making ends meet, and she's like, I can give $20 a month. That's huge. $20 a month from somebody who's barely making ends meet is could be a greater gift of somebody doing $2,000 a month, because a person that's doing $2,000 a month is like, I don't even have to think about that. But then there's somebody out there that has to think about that $20 a month, and it's just cool. And I just love the intentions behind the people that are listening to the podcast, and just doing it as it goes back to, as I've talked with you guys about, is what really changed for Amanda and I is when we started tithing as an act of worship. And it was just like, hey, this is a gift. We are worshiping God with this tithe and these gifts. That's why we give to different ministries and different individuals and peoples and families when we can, because at the end of the day, it's none of it's ours. Like he can take it all away. And I've talked to you guys about this with my parents. I saw the same thing in my parents. They were always giving what they could, and it was always joyful giving, which is awesome. Like always like, hey, this is what I get to do. And that's something I definitely learned from my parents. And I want to encourage people out there that are looking for ways to help. Don't overthink it. Just do, like Isaac said, what you're led to. Pray about it, and don't compare what you can do to anybody else.
Yep.
Don't compare it, because comparison is the ultimate thief of joy. And whatever you are going to do based off of what God puts on your heart, thank you. Like I'm going to thank you in advance, because you're helping us further the kingdom, and it's just really cool what we get to do.
And to put a little, or the practical way of how do I do that is, you could reach out on the page or to one of us individually. Again, I shared this a couple episodes ago. Sometimes on the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu Instagram page, there gets messages put in like the spam folder and the direct messages. Yeah. And so sometimes we get a lot of junk. Pakistani companies trying to sell us gis, or get us to sell their gis, and fight gear and fight wear and all kinds of stuff. And we proudly represent Made in American gear.
Origin,
Maine.
USA. Come on, baby.
And but with that, sometimes they get pushed down. So if you don't see one of it if you don't get a response on the page, it's not intentional. You just hit one of us personally on our Instagram. But we can give you the push pay link, and where you can do a one-time donation, or you can set up a reoccurring. That's one thing that we've had some people want to do, is like, hey, I want to give a reoccurring donation of $10 a month or $25 a month or whatever it might be. Just knowing that, hey, I can set this up and this can help you guys. I mean, one example is of how we use some of those funds. Right before we hit record on this episode, Isaac was telling us he was communicating with someone on Instagram that was saying they had a hard time reading their Bible, and he's like, well, what version is it? King James. Like, oh, okay, we got you. We're going to ship you a Bible. And so we're sending her a Bible. That's amazing. Right? And that's just one example of kind of how we use some of those funds, and being able to put on these podcasts are another example. And with that, let's jump into a couple things. One of them being, let's talk about the sponsor of this episode. Yep. And this is amazing. And it's Kimmy Turk of Warrior Angels in Boots with 5K. Cool. So there's Warrior Angels in Boots 5K coming up. And we'll get to that as soon as we finish talking about Kimmy. And so she's Josh, awesome. Josh and her have been interacting, and so I would love for you to share, give us the details on what she's doing. I mean, what you shared with us earlier blew me away, so I know everyone else will love this.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So she lives in Salado. It's down near Fort Hood, and we've been communicating back and forth. She's just supporting Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. She does train. She does Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
She competed recently,
recently. Yeah. JP and I met her at the Muster in Orlando.
Yeah, you did too.
At the Muster, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Isaac, okay. Sorry, Isaac did too.
Sorry, Kimmy, I wasn't there.
Yeah. It was, Instagram first, and then I saw her. Yeah, I know you.
So it was great. She came through the merch line, and I had just shaved my face. So actually, the first time we met, she was kind of like,
You look familiar.
You sound familiar, but you don't. But we figured it out. But no, she reached out, and I'm just gonna read her email. It's gonna say it best. But she puts on a thing or helps run this 5K. This year will be the third year she's done it. It's called the Warrior Angels and Boots 5K, and it sounds amazing. It's in November. It's obviously a little give back to the veteran community. They've partnered with what are they called? Boot Campaign. But basically what she said is she's a believer. She loves everything we do, but she also just wants to support what we're doing. And then if we can give some info to what they're doing, which obviously is something is all near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, come on.
So I'm just going to read her email. So she says, I live in Salado, which is pretty close to Fort Hood. We have a lot of active military families who live here and even more veterans, lots of them who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then she said, remember August 21, what happened in Kabul. My heart was broken when 13 servicemen and women were killed. Broken. These kids were fighting a war that their dads were fighting 20 years ago. Also, a lot of my feelings were bottled up in anger because of how our military was being treated. I would get super offended when people would kneel during our nation's anthem or sit during the Pledge of Allegiance. Everything, when I read this email, I was like,
just resonates.
This is me.
Yeah.
So, and she knows I'm reading this, so it's all good. I'm the girl that tears up every time I hear the national anthem played, and I bring tissues during Friday Night Lights. It just seemed as though nothing was being done to recognize the men and women who served, especially those who live in my community. She was finishing up 75 hard, clearly changing the way she did things, and she knew something had to be done to remember the 13. So she reached out. I reached out to my friend whose husband was a captain in the Army, and they came up with the name Warrior Angels and Boots. And she said her friend knew how great Boot Campaign was to work with, so they partnered with them. I've never served in the military and never ran a 5K, but I sure as heck was going to figure it out, raise money, and support the vets in my community during Veterans Day weekend.
No excuses. Love it.
That's getting after it. I had no clue what I was doing and executed my first 5K fundraiser in less than 6 weeks. They raised a good bit of money. I won't put all that out there. Well, it was overwhelming. They had a lot of people come out. The Black Rifle came out. A bunch of different Army, Marines, Air Force, all that stuff. They prayed. They sang the national anthem. American flags are everywhere. So then, I guess last year, the second 5K, I doubled attendance and donations.
Jeez. Let's go.
She has a friend that's retired Air Force and owns Barrow Brewing Company, which is in Salado, and they host an event there and plan it from there. The event was so fun, and she let me have it there again later this year. So she pays for everything out of her own pocket,
That's
and
incredible.
any money raised goes to the Boot Campaign.
Wow.
She says, when I was in Orlando at the muster, one of the speakers told his story about trying to get an interpreter out of Kabul, and then the bombing happened. I'm glad he was able to fly them to the U.S. I didn't know the people who died, but I'll never forget that day. And then she just said, now you know how I started this. I'd love to sponsor some episodes for Warriors and Angels Boots. So not only is she paying it out of her pocket to get this event, she's paying to sponsor us. So this is somebody that works off conviction.
Yeah.
And so we really appreciate that. And you can...
She not only works off conviction, but she's putting her money where her mouth is, and she's putting her time, effort, and energy where her mouth is. It's
Right.
not, so many of us have these feelings, and I just love it when you see someone like Kimmy Turk that says, hey, I'm going to turn these feelings into action, and let's
Right.
actually do some
Right.
good for our veterans, because everyone in this country, we owe our veterans our freedom.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So Warrior Angels and Boots 5K, it's Saturday, November 11th. Obviously, if you can sign up and donate, you can make the trip down there. But the website's www.runsignup.com/Warrior Angels.
That's only 3 hours from us.
I told her I'm going to try to come. It's on November 11th, though.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm planning on going, but
Is there an Instagram page or anything like that, or is it just the website?
just the website. If there's more, I'll update later. But
Let's make sure, make sure that this episode has aired, and then let's post from the Instagram page. Let's post a link to their website.
Yeah,
Make sure
for
to
sure.
remind me of that, guys.
we'll
Okay,
do.
cool.
So hey, real quick, if you have any, do you have more to say about them?
I mean, I could go on a long time about that, but that's it.
Okay, Kimmy, I want to say thank you. On behalf of me, just on behalf of me, actually, I just want to say thank you.
You can go on behalf of me. I'm all in. So
on all of us,
I read the email. I read the email, and I was just like, "Let's go!"
Yes, thank you so much for not only what you're doing, most importantly with Warrior Angels and Boots, but also thank you for just supporting us and what we're doing here with Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. And so, I'm thirsty. Talking about this running's made me thirsty.
Command fire open.
Let's do it.
All right. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Ooh.
It's for you, Jake.
That was for you, Jake. 4 at once.
I got that Dak Savage today.
I got that carbon fiber mango mayhem.
Mango mayhem for our boy Echo Charles.
Legit.
Love that dude.
Listen,
We hit it off for sure at the muster. He was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Hawaiian.
Oh,
You're
I'm Hawaiian. We're both Hawaiian.
No, he's Hawaiian. I'm Samoan, but he played football. He played football at UH,
Whatever.
and I was like, oh, no way.
Yeah, he's rad.
Yeah, he was
He's
legit.
good.
so if you're a new listener or viewer with us and you just heard that loud noise, you're like, what is happening? Dude, we are drinking Jocko Goes, the healthiest energy drink in the game. If you're drinking junk, stop it. Straight up, stop it. Stop.
It's poison.
Listen, Jocko Fuel across the board, all their supplements. I'm going to tell you, do your own research, but you'll find what I found as from being a lifelong supplement junkie. Mm-hmm. You're going to find that every single one of their products is super clean and it has the utmost integrity in what they put in it. So, for example, these Jocko Goes are fully pasteurized. There's no preservatives in them. Very first pasteurized energy drink, 95 megs of naturally sourced caffeine. It focuses on mental acuity. There's no crash. You can drink it before training jiu-jitsu or running a 5K, and it's not going to crack you out like a traditional pre-workout would or another one of those, other canned energy drinks would. So you can drink it. They're also keto friendly and they're sugar free for anyone that does like keto or any kind of diet like that. They also have no artificial sweeteners. It's sweetened with monk fruit. They taste delicious. Get in the game on your Jocko Goes. Get the Mulk protein's the best protein in the game.
Bro, I smashed some of that.
Dude.
Oh, so good.
So good. There's no, they actually add, so it's also sweetened with monk fruit, so you're not getting the junky artificial sweeteners, but they add the probiotics into the protein powder so that it helps you digest your protein, which is huge. On top of that, they've got the best tasting greens in the market. They've got, Origin also, and they've got the Jocko Joint Warfare, which, by the way, I've had some, we've been promoting that because we all believe in it. It's helped us. And I've had some of you listeners send us messages saying, hey, I'm in the game on the Joint Warfare and I feel great. Yeah. The vitamin D3.
Yeah. The Joint Warfare, like, you start taking it and you forget what it was like when you didn't take it. And then if you go on a week-long trip, like I might have one time.
I've done it.
And you forget it and you're like just aching by
What's
day
wrong?
3.
What's wrong with me?
Wow.
That's what's
I remember
awesome.
one time I was on a 2-week trip and I forgot to pack it. And I called Amanda Roberts at Origin and I was like, I don't like to do this ever. You know this? And I told her and she goes, I'll overnight it to you. She's like, what do the rest of the guys need? Which was so awesome. It was a 2-week FTX that we were running back in the day. And all of a sudden, like literally the next day at the hotel,
Care package.
huge box. Like literally every guy, she sent a jug of protein too, Joint Warfare, krill oil, and the testosterone booster and the sleep aid. Like every single guy got one. I was like,
krill oil is the best fish oil you could take. It's the highest quality. You got to get on that. Every one of their products, you just need to figure out what fits your lifestyle and where your nutrition gaps are, where your what's going on with your training, what you need, and you need to get on those products. And you need to use code JJJ10, and that will save you 10%, and it also benefits our ministry. You guys and Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu, you guys have been using that code really well, and it has really impacted us. So, man, we appreciate it. Keep using the code. Keep sharing the code on social media. Cheers to that.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
yeah.
I'm going to throw out a quick recipe real quick. I know some people follow me on Instagram. It was on my story.
If not, they should. And how should they?
Like, there's like 27 of them following you now, right?
Such a jerk.
I may have 28.
How do they follow you, Josh?
No, I don't want to say it.
What is
Say
it?
it now.
Josh Straussberger actual. Straussberger.
It sounds
Just figure that one out.
Straussberger. Burger, not spelled like the meat.
BERGER.
That's right.
Actual.
Straussberger.
Because I had a copycat.
That's how you know Josh is the real deal.
Captain Big Time over there.
Big dog.
Got
Well,
some fake accounts.
JP has like 30 fake accounts. So let's put that in
Anyway,
perspective.
what's the I want your recipe, baby.
Anyway.
I actually like us aiming the spotlight on Josh a little bit.
No, I don't like it.
For real.
I hate the
I don't
fact
even
that-
need.
That's
I don't even
amazing.
need actual behind my Instagram handle.
I hate the fact actual is
You are
on there,
such
and
a big
that's why
dog.
it bothers me. But when it happened and I changed it, so many people messaged me and they were like, "Which one is you?"
Yeah, they thought actual was the spam account.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not changing it again, so I'm just driving through. So anyway,
What if it was the Josh Straussberger?
the one and only.
we're not changing it anymore.
No, it's
Can
gonna
we-
be
He's so
The
tired of it.
actual
the
Josh
actual Josh
the
Straussberger.
one and
That
only.
would sound better.
The
That would
one
sound
and only Josh Straussberger.
Actual for real.
for real. Dang it.
All right.
Can we
Anyway,
get-
on my story.
Hey, could every one of you go find one of the photos off Josh's page or our page, zoom in on his face to where his face is like full screen, and just share it on your story and tag him, please? Like, I'd like to have
you.
150 tags
be
of
so
Josh's
sick.
face.
I will share it on my
Tag me and
story.
I will share.
over
I will
and
share
over again.
every
Tag
single
me,
one of them.
Stephen
And then I'll
Little
share it
One,
again once it's a picture in
STEVEN,
picture.
Isaac Tauaefa,
Six
Yeah, no,
layers.
yeah.
He's
JP
gone.
Dinnell.
All right, I want that menu. Come on, recipe,
real,
recipe.
come on.
I want 150 individual
let's go.
photos
And this-
shared with Josh Straussberger actual.
And this episode is going to be one of our, like, we call them those quick little hitters once in a while. So we need the recipe.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the word, and then we will expand upon the word with
Yes.
some of our random
Yes,
casual
sir.
conversations.
Yep.
So what do you got?
So
What's
the recipe, and it's not even mine. One of my instructors' friends, her and her husband are also Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu supporters. She brought me to the gym. We were at work. A blender, fresh watermelon, and Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
And
Wait,
telling you-
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
yes, a Tropic
saw that
Thunder
on your
Jocko
page.
Go. Pour it in the blender with the fresh watermelon. Blend it up. That's all you need. It's like you're drinking the beach. Like
You throw a little ice in there, maybe?
oh, watermelon was cold.
Freeze the watermelon.
Or freeze it. Yeah, it was just cold, but it was.
Freeze the watermelon.
It's thick. It's a little frothy, and oh man,
Some
it was
My
the most
man.
refreshing thing. So
That
shout out
sounds
to
so
Robin. I want to go get some watermelon right now, but Tropic Thunder's already legit. But you throw a watermelon in there and blend it.
because Tropic Thunder's pineapple coconut, like
Yeah.
pina coladas.
Oh yeah, it's a beach. It's a beach
I
in a
wonder
cup.
how good that would be if you mixed a scoop of the greens in it with it.
Or,
probably
or
spot
the
on.
vanilla protein, if you need to go that route.
Vanilla protein and the greens.
I do the greens. The greens in my vanilla protein.
Yeah, the vanilla milk with the greens
Is
is
solid.
great. You mix it together, put a little ice in it.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it might be too much with the Tropic
Some people
Thunder.
make like the milk mud, kind of like
that
the ice
stuff is
cream.
so good.
Yeah.
You just do like milk with water.
No, I
get
think
it
people
thick?
use like frozen bananas.
Yeah, frozen banana will thicken it up.
You blend it up and then throw it in the freezer. You
Yeah.
could probably put like a Greek yogurt in there too, right?
Yeah,
You
could.
can also use. I've done the sugar-free Jello pudding mix.
Those
where
are,
like
yeah.
it's
Smart move.
yeah. So you do.
Let's
yeah,
go.
you make protein pudding. It's phenomenal.
That sounds good.
So yeah, you just add. You got to figure out the consistency that works for you. But yeah, you take the vanilla or chocolate sugar-free pudding, and then you add in a scoop or two of protein powder. Then you mix in your water and get it to that consistency. Put it in the fridge. Very nice.
Very nice.
I'm in. Hey,
Very
one other
nice.
thing while we're talking about Origin and Jocko Fuel, they have the best gis in the game. Everyone knows that. They're 100% American made with American materials, with American workers in old school factories where they're literally taking cotton from Texas, they're putting it on a semi truck, they're shipping it up to Maine.
And North Carolina.
Yes, they have the old school looms, and they're weaving this cotton into the best fabric in the jiu-jitsu game. Seriously. If you haven't owned one, if you've ever trained with anyone that's wearing Origin gear, you know what we're talking about. And this code also gets you 10% off all the Origin clothing,
Yeah.
and you get discounts on all the stuff. So you got to use it. JJJ10. Support your bank account and support Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, the new Nano Pearl gi.
I haven't felt it yet, but
I got it. I have a problem. Amanda's like, "Did you buy another gi?" I'm like, "I got Aiden one too." And
I
she
saw
goes,
I
That's
saw
why
the
I got-
package on your porch. I did.
Oh, those might have been some more of the jeans.
those
Yeah.
black jeans.
Those new black jeans. But yeah, but she asked, she's like, "Did you buy another gi?" I'm like, "I bought Aiden one too." And she goes, Okay.
Okay.
It's
Fair
like
enough.
one time I came home and she's like, "Did you buy another gun?" I'm like, "I got you one too."
Oh,
And she goes, "Oh, that's awesome." Yeah. She totally didn't
Oh,
care about
that's
me
smart.
coming home.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to buy a gun, buy your wife one too.
matching pair, equal,
Just saying.
equality.
You're looking at me like you want to fight me.
No, I'm just looking at you like, I mean, yeah, buy one for every kid. Like
Yeah,
the dog, the hamster. They all need guns.
Your friends.
Your friends.
Your
Well, I can't
friends.
buy guns for friends, but I can buy guns that friends can use.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
True.
and
That's
then
what I meant.
yeah. Anyways,
And in Texas, it's a little looser. So
it's not.
Are we talking about guns?
We're going to talk about guns the next time because what I do
okay.
want to do, I'm going to put myself on blast. I don't know when, so please do not message and say when. I literally don't know when. But the four of us, we will align calendars. I will make this happen. We will do a Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu fundraiser shoot. So where you come out to the range, I'll do some long-range shooting, rifle shooting, pistol shooting with people. It's going to cost money. It's literally going to cost a good amount of money. But all the weapons will be supplied, the ammo will be supplied, and the cost of that will be 100% to the ministry. So I don't know when.
Dude.
Please do not be like, "Hey, was it?"
I'm excited for this, but I'm also dreading because even though you just told people 5 times, I already know we are going to get hammered with people asking
I'm
us.
gonna be the first one.
Asking us,
Hey, when are we doing that?
when are we doing it? And then we're going to have to ask JP, and then it's going to create this cycle. So look,
2023.
I want to focus your energies away from asking about the shoot and back to Josh's face photo where you tag him in the page, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA.
All right, what's the verse?
Who's got the verse?
You do.
It's you.
Just come on, scrub.
So I know I have this verse, and I've been thinking about this verse for a while, and it's funny.
Elaborate on the connection of that verse,
Yeah,
too.
because I had prepped this verse because I didn't know for the last episode because I didn't know who was going to be sharing what scripture. Like I knew the next couple ones were going to be JP and myself, and so I just had it prepped. And then I was like, "Oh no, JP, you do it." And if you were listening to the last episode, you know it was really cool because Ben Brandon, who was the sponsor of that episode, sent a verse in his little thing, and it was the 2 scriptures above the verse JP had prepared for that day. And so I had my verse prepped for this podcast now this week, and Isaac goes, "Oh, that makes me think of this verse," and he shared the verse that I'm going to share today.
And full disclosure, I knew I was going to have a verse. I grabbed my Bible, and I did not prepare for this verse. I knew I would find a verse that I could elaborate upon, but when I opened up my Bible to where my highlighter was, it was on Romans 12. And I read it again. I'm like, okay, this really speaks to me. And I've been, really wanting to like just really dive deep into Romans. And then you talk about Brandon and then that verse. And for him, like you just think about him, the different gifts people have. And you said something, Stephen, that I thought was so powerful is along the lines of like, don't judge how other people are using their gifts. Like, hey, someone might be like, rap, like how are you really growing the kingdom by rapping, like because they're like some old school person that thinks it's like, well, why don't you listen to the words that he's singing,
Listen to the lyrics.
step back and quit judging, and guess what
Yeah,
I know where you're. I know.
Think of, let me while you
I'm not gonna
refrain.
go hard
While
on
you
this.
refrain, think about it this way: how much filth is there in modern hip hop and rap music? Right?
It's incredible.
Okay, so he's giving you a cool option
Yep.
to plug into to replace filth with truth.
yeah, my
Yes,
girls
yeah.
love Bryson Gray. He's a Christian rapper. Like I'll play you guys some of their songs that my girls know the words to the song, and it's talking about putting on the armor of God and being a warrior for Christ. Like that's what my daughters listen to, and
Sweet.
I love it. It's great. What I was going to go hard on, and I'll throttle back, is like, hey, before you're judging other people and what they're doing, ask yourself, what are you doing to further the kingdom?
Yeah.
That's all we should think about.
Yep.
Very
That's all.
well placed.
Amen.
So, double full disclosure, I coming in today also didn't have a verse prepped,
I knew by that questions you were asking.
but I was standing there crushing some food, which, by the way, apparently it did no good because
I'm starving.
You've had food today.
You guys ate?
I'm crushing some food, and I'm like, "Hey, Amanda," like, talking to my wife, who's like all like deep, and she reads so much Bible and does so much whatever. I'm like, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank. I need a verse, and I've never done that before. I've always had something prepped and everything like ready to go. And I'm like, babe, I need a verse, and she's like, oh, you said that. The Holy Spirit just put a thought in my head, and she's like, what about 2 Corinthians, 9 and 12, 9 and 10? And I'm like, I look at it, I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. Well, then I had that verse prepped. And then, so actually and then Isaac did his thing. So
That was cool.
It's one of those coincidences.
One of those
go.
coincidences.
Let's dive into it, baby.
So
I want to learn from you on this one.
I don't know. So,
I selfishly love this podcast because I get to learn from the three of you guys. Diving deep in the word, like it's incredible. Like I think I made it pretty obvious on all the episodes before that I've been a part. Like I've always had a relationship with God, but my knowledge of the Bible has been lacking, and it's very apparent. And I've understood that, and then Pursuit really brought that open my eyes. Like, hey, you really need to get back in the word. When I was younger, I knew the word very well, but then I just, you fall away from it, you forget it, but from a selfish standpoint, that's why I was like, come on, I want to learn from it. Get into it, baby. Like, I love when the three of you guys dive into the word, because I'm sitting here like, got my notebook ready, my highlighter, let's go, come on.
So
School's ready.
Here's what's hilarious. When I prepped this, so I always start with NLT. I like the New Living Translation. But I read it, I'm like, this is good. I'm like, I wonder what ESV says, because that's one I flipped to, which is Isaac's main version. And I'm like, ooh, I like that a little better. So I used ESV. Well, in the last episode, Isaac had the NLT pulled up. It was just funny that we switched versions. But so here it is, 2 Corinthians 12, 9 and 10. But he said to me, and by the way, this is Paul talking, and he's quoting Jesus here in the next line, but he said to me, my grace, this is red letters, right? Jesus is talking. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Back to Paul. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with my weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So I'm just going to read it again. But he said to me, my grace, so Jesus said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So since Jesus said that, I am going to boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. There's so much, and we could take this verse so many ways, but the first thing I thought of when I went through this is just, I think our general community of people are, this Jiu-Jitsu community, the Jesus community, a lot of the people, and you guys found us that follow JP, maybe from what he does with Echelon Front and stuff, the general group that we're in are people that are pretty strong typically, like physically, whether that's they're a veteran or they're law enforcement or they're just a jiu-jitsu practitioner or they're a weightlifter or they're a former athlete, right? Like physically and typically they're pretty strong, but also mentally they're pretty strong. Like we're hard chargers, we're go-getters, we'll press through, business owners, entrepreneurs, like we'll just make it happen, right? We're kind of like typically like a make it happen kind of people. Extreme ownership, coming back to where JP's world that he comes from, where we're going to take ownership over everything, and if it's if something happened, it's wrong, it's my fault, and like let's fix it, let's just do the hard work, and that is the perfect mindset. But I also think when I look at this, there are for when I am weak, then I am strong, but you're strong through Christ because his grace is sufficient for you, and Christ's power is made perfect in our weakness. So I think sometimes we have to slow down and think like, it's kind of like I shared in the last episode talking about Moses, right? God picked Moses to lead his people out of slavery into the promised land. And guess what Moses couldn't do? He couldn't speak, but yet he was supposed to speak and lead the whole nation of Israel. Right? He couldn't speak. And so, in fact, he couldn't speak to the point where he couldn't even overcome it. And God allowed him to use his brother Aaron to be his mouthpiece. Right? And so, in that weakness, though, God strengthened him, gave him everything he needed to lead the people out of slavery. And guess who got the glory? Because Moses wasn't the pastor, right? The polished person with the silver tongue that has great with his words. Guess who gets the glory? God gets the glory, right? So I think I don't know. That was just my initial thought. Like I said, there's a bunch of thoughts running through my head. I want to kind of be quiet quickly and hear y'all's initial takeaways. But that was just my first thought. Is sometimes I think as men and women that are listening that are of this mindset I've been describing, we kind of get it done kind of people, like we train hard, all this kind of stuff. I think we have to also realize that sometimes if we'll just step out in faith, and let God strengthen us in our weak areas, moments, the things that maybe we were insecure of because we don't have it maybe perfected yet or whatever it is. Just stepping out like JP when we're asked to do something we're not comfortable to do. Stepping out and just doing it and letting there's
I hate you right now.
should we just, yeah. JP was sharing with us in between the episodes of something that was an opportunity that was given to him. It's just kind of like, oh man, I don't know about that. Like that feels like a lot. And have you committed to doing it yet? I'm being serious.
I guess so. I kind of was voluntold.
Yeah, JP was asked to preach at a church on coming up.
Yeah, in November when I do the men's night at that church in North Carolina.
I wasn't even planning. By the way, I literally that was not even in my head, but it came to me as I'm sitting here going, because you were the kid that grew up with a speech impediment, as you always talk about, right? And you now speak for a living.
I do.
But there's a difference. So I mean, any of us that have been involved in ministry, there's a difference in speaking for a living and talking about kingdom stuff. Like even coming in and doing this podcast, like there's a weight of going, man, like I've got these people listening to us and I'm responsible for sharing Jesus with them. Like it's,
like what I was talking about in the last episode in Romans, like if you have the gifts for leadership, there's a burden, right? And I'm not comparing that to like what we're doing here, but I mean, we are all leading people to the kingdom through this podcast, and there's a burden associated with that. So, I'm going out to that church November 11th to speak at their men's night, and then at the end of the conversation, the pastor was like, "Yeah, and then we'll just have you, do the same thing on Sunday for both of our services. Share that message and preach on Sunday." And I was like, oh, cool.
Cool.
But, it's going to be cool what God does with it, so.
Yeah.
Because we're qualified.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what somebody told me. Somebody I respect told me that.
So, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Ike.
Yeah, so this that's actually the part that stood out to me the most at this verse. So
don't you dare take mine. Go ahead.
Are you going to talk about being self-deprecating?
We'll see.
Or as some of my friends say, self-defecating. That's not the right word. Okay, it's deprecating.
Deprecating.
But
I've been known to do that.
People say don't. People. There's a lot of people like, no, don't talk about yourself like that. You are capable. You can do this, and it's. And I understand that idea, the idea of positivity and of like having the right thinking and the right mindset, but it's a self-empowerment mindset. But I think what's amazing here is what this is about is saying you're boasting in your weaknesses. So the areas where I fall short, I admit, I talk about freely, without shame, without feeling embarrassed about my shortcomings, because I say the thing that makes it right is you say, but God, like, so I'm not a good public speaker, but God enables me to, or, my personal thing is I don't feel that comfortable speaking in front of lots of people, but God has continually led me to opportunities where I have to speak in front of people. And I'm like, why? And, I think that's, my pastor has the same thing. We've talked about it. He thinks there's something where like, where God has, he's like, I think it has something to do with the fact that I don't want to speak, that God has me do it. It's maybe it's a posture thing, but also, I think what it is you having to fully be reliant on God to do it. Because like, Lord, I'm not good at this. I don't feel like I'm prepared to do this. And maybe I'm just speaking to JP, but I don't feel like this is my strong suit, But then God, he in that moment, like when you admit that, your shortcoming, I can't do this, but then you are fulfilled. God fills in the gaps, and then something great happens, and he gets the glory because you weren't prepared on your own to do it. So,
it gives us the opportunity to stop and go, okay, Holy Spirit, like I need you to speak through me.
Yeah,
right. It gives us the ability to go, I'm not qualified. So, like, Lord, you come, you speak, and you get the glory.
Yep.
You guys have I mean, Steven, you've been around me the longest, and all of you guys, we've been around for each other for a good amount of time. And you guys know for a while, I used to like say this all the time: is I don't like speaking in front of people. I would literally actually say that at the muster, which was that 2-day leadership event we did at Echelon Front, like from the stage, blah blah blah. And finally, Jocko was like, "Hey, stop saying that." Because I would say, no, I said, I'm not, what would I say? I would say, I don't like speaking in front of people. I'm not a good speaker. And Jocko finally was like, hey, stop saying that. He goes, you are a good speaker. Like, you're doing a good job. He goes, and actually, when you're up there speaking, I can tell you like it. And I'm like, well, and I really actually struggled with that because I was like, no, and as Jocko and I were sitting talking about it, and I've talked about this with Leif as well, and Leif is a very strong Christian, and we tie stuff back to the Bible a lot, which I love, which he wants to come be a guest on the podcast sometime,
That would be
which I
legit,
thought
dude.
was awesome.
No. No. Leif,
Maybe.
I'm not good with it. Only for one reason. Your voice is so bad to the bone. You're going to make me sound like a little girl.
Yeah,
right,
and he
let's talk
also,
about
again,
Romans.
he asked me again.
Hey, little.
Let's talk about Let's talk about 2 Corinthians.
Yes.
It's literal. He's the real life Batman.
Yep, Texas Batman. But I was talking with both of them about that, and as I was thinking about it, and I was like, so I've stopped saying that, and I've been trying to be mindful of it. It's actually, to me, and this is just me. This is not out of the Bible anywhere. I don't know of this is not, but to me, if I continue doing that, that's like I'm insulting God, because God has given me this opportunity. He's given me this platform, and whether I liked it or not at the beginning, like, I embraced it because I believed in the mission, and just understand, like, hey, there's a burden associated with it. Like, yeah, okay, there's some stress, but if you keep going into that, well, I don't like this, I'm not good at this, blah blah blah, now you're playing the victim card, and it's all about you instead of focusing on God and His kingdom and what He's given us. So I've been really trying to reframe the way I think about it and speak about it. So I don't say, hey, I don't like speaking in front of people anymore. I've been trying to be mindful of not saying that, because it's just like, hey, to me it's just like so disrespectful towards God and what He's given.
I see what you're saying about, like, there being, so it's not, you're not saying, like, because really none of us have what it takes to do what we're called to do, but so we're saying we need you, Lord, to do this, but you're saying, like, there are the things that God has gifted you with, and it would be insulting to Him to say that it means nothing or that it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, did I grow up with a speech impediment? Yes, factual. Was I in speech therapy? Yep. Was I super insecure? Yep. Did I used to get picked on and bullied because the way I talked and how I mixed up things? Yep. Was I nervous to talk in front of people? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? My parents helped me work through all that stuff when I was younger. When I got in the military, guess what I had to be able to do? I had to actually be able to talk in front of people and talk to people and communicate. And there are like, I was actually pretty decent at it. And when I was an instructor working for Jocko, guess what I had to do? Talk in front of guys. And when I did that, I was good with it. There was zero issues with that. And when I started working with Echelon Front, it was just because it was a different kind of environment, and I made it about me, which is the wrong thing to do.
Right.
It's like, no, God gave me this opportunity. I have the skill sets. I have the abilities to actually go out there and execute this. Focus on giving God the glory and being thankful for the opportunity. And that's why I make it a point every single time I speak. When I share the story about Amanda and I getting our marriage back, I give credit to God 100%. I'm saying, hey, it's by God's grace and glory we're able to have a second chance. And then when I talk about the monster, I'm like, one of my things is, trusting God. Like, I have to trust God. And as you guys are saying these things, I just kept thinking about, like, just trust God. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to be okay.
It's awesome.
Quit being selfish. And I'm talking to myself. 100%.
Right,
Nobody else.
Josh Straussberger, actual. What'd you get?
So I actually think I actually kind of went a different way. I don't know if it's a stretch, but the last part of that, first off, I had never really thought about it the way you just said that. So those are really good. But the last part, for when I am weak, then I am strong. I took it as, again, a selfish way, but how easy is it for us to try to do things in our own power? So if we get that focus shifted and you try to do everything in your own strength, you're going to be spinning your wheels. You're going to, there's a lot more stress involved, and it's not actually coming from God. So I think that reminder.
To that, one thing I'd love to interject, and you can agree or disagree, is I think that when we take it under, sometimes it works for a while.
Yeah.
Under our own strength.
Well,
but
again,
long term,
well, you were saying like we're
Right.
you know a bunch of hard chargers and all
Yep.
type of stuff. Yeah, you
can do a lot.
You can push through a lot of things for a long time sometimes. But are you operating at your optimal level? Are you operating at that level that God wants you to? Are you really getting the things done, or are you just baseline forcing it through? And I think that's the focus shift for me. Like, hey, I am weak. Like, in all this stuff, I am weak. It's the power I have to do all this, the strength I have to do all this, it does come from God. So, like, the last little part's just that reminder, like, hey, homie, you're not doing this all on your own. You gotta go to God to get that strength. So
Yeah, well, and I think that's like so, and that goes back to what I was talking about earlier when you're like admitting. So when you're talking about being weak, you're not like complaining, you're not being self-deprecating. You're just saying like you are not God, and so you have holes, you have gaps, you have weaknesses, you have shortcomings, and to admit that is to glorify God because you're saying, whatever we do, whatever cool things we've accomplished in our lives, in our careers, or in the ministry, it's like, yeah, but I'm not like,
right.
I'm not fully capable of doing all that on my own. So the Lord is who brought me through that.
Where did
and
that come
sustained me.
from?
Yeah, because I'm not, and you know. And as I've gotten older and more mature, and verses like this that just come to life and help me understand this, it's become easier for me to admit my weaknesses. Whereas pride would keep me from doing that in the past. Like I want to say, like, oh no, I'm squared away on all these different things, on every front, I'm good to go. But man, it's like there's something. It's not something. It's comforting to just admit, like, no, I'm not great at that. I'm not the most patient person when it comes to having certain conversations with my wife, or when my kids are being crazy, or and to say that and be like totally okay with it and be fine with admitting it, instead of having to have everyone think like I'm perfect in every area of my life.
Right.
Well, when I admit that I'm weak in those areas, I'm relying on the Lord to give me strength to help me to be better in those areas. So,
well, and how much more powerful is it too? Like if somebody is struggling, and you say, "Hey, man, I'm weak at this."
yes.
Oh, I can go
You
talk
too?
to Isaac about
Yeah,
that. Like
right.
we have something in common
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
It's just it makes sense.
You're right.
But a lot of times that ego and pride gets in the way, and you're like, I'm strong. I got this. I know what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yep. Yep.
When I asked because my wife threw this at me, like I asked her, and the Holy Spirit was like, boom, and she threw it at me. I'm like, that's perfect. She said, the way I relate to it is like, because I kind of told her what my initial thought on it, which is what I shared with y'all, and she said, the way my initial thought is when we fasted, because over the last roughly year, her and I have actually started doing some fasts. Like we had in the past, like done a fast with our church, because the church was like, hey, let's fast, and like we've done it, but not done it for the right, like not done it to the fullest, like not really, just like we gave up caffeine, we were just grumpy with each other, right? And like, we didn't actually get any benefit from the actual reason of the
Kind of went
fast,
backwards on that one,
right? But like over the last year, we've actually done a few different fasts, some of them together, some of them separate, and we actually like really pressed in. And one of those was with our church at the beginning of the year. We did a 40-day food fast. We drank smoothies and stuff like that, but protein shake, a lot of milk for sure, but. With that, but just didn't chew anything for 40 days, which is tough for a meat eater, but it was good. But like what Amanda said is, she's like, there was so many moments in fasting where it's like I'm at the complete end of myself, and the only strength is in the Lord. It's like in my weakness, and I'm like, man, and I can relate to that too in fasting, but also like it's so true in so many areas of my life. Like there's been some stuff where I've just gotten to the end of myself, and it's like the only way to go on without wrecking your world is like to find that strength in the Lord. But then what I've learned personally is, what? I don't want to have to get to the end of my rope to find that strength. Mm-hmm. I want to utilize that strength on my best day and on my worst day. Right. So like, where do we turn when we're at the end of ourselves? Like that is where we should get our strength from. Right. But also like, I think that, and I'm talking to myself, like I also need to be pulling my strength from in the Lord, even on, all the time, not just when we have nowhere else to turn.
Yeah. When you're at rock bottom, you're like, all right, Lord, I need help.
Oh,
no, it's daily bread.
By the way, you just said rock bottom, and I'm sure something with, everyone that one of my good buddies from high school shared with me that he went through a situation and his dad sat him down and told him this, and it just sat so well with me. He'd made a really dumb decision, and he was in college, and he was at this. He's like a pretty good kid, done some stupid stuff. His dad had to drive out in the middle of the night, kind of thing, and he sat him down. He's like, "Hey, bro," he's like, "You're at one of two spots in your life right now." He's like, "You're either at rock bottom, and it's only up from here, and that's your choice. You start working at it, right? Or this is one step on the staircase downward," right? And so it's like, I don't know if someone needs to hear this, if anyone's listening and like you feel like that, like if you're in this like thing, like make where you are right now your rock bottom.
Yeah.
Start climbing up, but do it in the strength of the Lord. Like start turning to the Lord for that strength versus doing it on yourself.
Right. Absolutely. Like, I don't know the next step, or I don't know if I can do this. I don't have what it takes to go. Well, then call on the Lord, ask him for his strength, ask for the right.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
Because wherever you are, there is worse choices. Like this can be a spiraling downward progression, Like stop.
Always.
Yeah.
Stop it now. Make that the floor.
And find the strength, and instead of trying to do it on your own or relying on whatever sources you've been relying on, whether it's addiction to something or just wherever you've been trying to find that strength that hasn't been working, stop it.
Yep.
Figure out how to get that strength from the Lord.
That's good. Yeah. And I'm sure that would be encouraging to there's someone out there listening that might be in that place right now. So that's good. I thought you were going to go, and I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but I thought you were going to go a different route with the rock bottom.
That's immediately where my mind went.
Oh, okay. So hold on. Hey, Lucas, let's just do something off script. Lucas, come over here real quick. Come join either JP or Josh. So I don't know why, but we're going to do this. All right. So here it is. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 and 10. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then I'm content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong."
By the way, this is Lucas.
This is our producer, Lucas.
Yeah.
So
He's the man.
just you can take my mic, whatever. But what do you get from that when I just read it at you?
When you just read at me that in our weakness God is made strong, it's essentially in the bottom line for me. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a pastor also, and you wouldn't know that because we don't talk about me because I'm supposed to be on the other side of the camera.
Not anymore, nerd.
But essentially what it is that the moments in our lives when we feel like we are the most useless are the ones where God is able to come into and speak into our lives the most. I've heard it explained to me this way. When I was a missionary in Canada, like the third week I was there, it snowed, and I was never I grew up in Dallas. We don't have snow. That's just not our thing. I was living in a basement. I had a 6-inch tall and an 18-inch long window, and it was covered up for the next 6 months of the year. And so I was experiencing a lot of what I've come to find out is seasonal depression because there wasn't sun except for 3 hours of the day, and all of those hours I was in an office. And it was explained to me like this: is things like loneliness, those are the moments when God is inviting you into his presence. And when we use those moments of our weakness and we accept that invitation into God's presence, he not only reveals us things about ourselves that we can now use those giftings and things in order to bless others, but also reveals us things about him that we can become dependent on the strength and stuff that he has for us.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's so awesome.
Hey,
thank you,
dude,
Lucas.
I'm gonna go where I belong.
Wait, hold on 1 second.
Get out of here.
First off, there's that was great. Thank you for sharing that. Show all our guys on camera, anyone that's on YouTube, show them that awesome ring. I just saw it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You need to get in on that.
You don't want to get punched in the forehead
You don't
with
want to
that.
get punched in the forehead.
From our Viking.
I don't want to get.
I have been punched by
punched
Lucas
in the
before
forehead
with
by
that.
anything, but let alone
That was awesome. Thank you, Lucas.
I think that's a good
wrap.
Listen,
that was awesome.
if you got any value today
Pretty solid right
or
there.
entertainment today, we ask that you like, share, and subscribe to all of our stuff. Comment, anywhere that you might find yourself, whether it's on the Apple or Spotify platforms, whether it's on YouTube. Definitely like and comment something positive. Hopefully, share that on your social media.
Can we? I want, just before we're done, I want maybe JP can say a prayer to bless the people that are watching and just pray with them real quick.
Let's get it right now.
I'm waiting for you to pray.
No, I want you. You shared the word today. I think you have a good word for people.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for just everything that you've given us. We thank you for your grace. Thank you for your redemption. Thank you for your forgiveness, and more importantly, your love. I just pray that you'll continue to work through our hearts to show us empathy and love for others. I just pray that you'll continue to fill us with your strength when we feel weak, because I know we feel weak every single day, but I also know that every single day I also have the ability to feel strength through you, and it's because of your love, because I know I don't deserve it, but you give it to me either way. You give it to all of us, and we thank you for that. I just pray that you'll continue to bless all of our listeners. I just pray that you'll continue to bless this ministry so that we can further your kingdom, knowing that we're at war and knowing that the best thing that we can do is continue to grow this kingdom for your glory. Everything we do is for your glory, and I just pray that you'll continue to remind us of that and work in all of our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
For all you listeners and viewers, I hope and pray that you can take areas of weakness in your life and allow the Lord to reveal your true identity and his true identity in those pockets, areas. Yes. This has been Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu Podcast, episode 014.
Go train.